Hello, Jill.
Hi, Annette.
This is Pop Chat, and I am Annette Tarpley, the founder of the Passion of Poetry, and we are here today with Jill Sharon Kimmelman, who is my dearest friend, and I would say that I'm her best friend, but other than her husband maybe, but that might be a lie, and I don't want her to have to lie on international networks. So we won't do that. We'll put you on the spot, Jill.
That's okay.
But Jill has been my friend for quite some time. So
Yes.
actually, Jill, you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to have people, instead of me going through your bio or your
Mhm.
intro, I want you to introduce yourself to the people. So I'll start off by however you want to do it, but you're on stage, girlfriend. You take the lead.
Like everybody else who writes, I started when I was a little girl and I was drawn to a beautiful book of poetry and paintings. I still have it. It's still an inspiration. And as a 4-year old, I taught myself to read. My mother came in one day and said, "Would you like me to read to you?" And I declined and said, "I can read it to you." So poetry was there from the very, very beginning. And all I can say is it was bad poetry and it was terrible poetry and it even got worse. But I was always involved in theater, so performing poetry was not a problem. I was involved in literary clubs throughout and journalism also in high school and in college. And my future was pretty much planned. And I was going to be, I thought, the first female attorney general in the US. And then I realized I never thought about whether it was me who wanted to be a lawyer or if it was just something I'd always known that was my destiny. And so I switched, changed everything, put the poetry away, put the literature major away, and went to hotel school. And at the age of 22, straight out of hotel school, I began a business. And there was, in fact, no room for poetry, barely room for reading periodicals that had to do with food and culinary events. And I've had lots of presence in the 80s and 90s in Virginia and in Chicago, being part of some pretty wonderful food changes. But again, I never thought about the poems. I didn't know where they were, and I didn't have time to search for them. And I became ill. And in 2006, the last job that I held, I was forced to retire. And what do you do at that point? And what I did was try to figure out what is the next chapter. And I went back and found my poetry, not the lined papers with the actual poems, but the passion of poetry. There's your plug in it. The passion of poetry was still there. It wasn't shuttered behind anything. It was patiently waiting for me to find, and it was there. And I started writing again. And we all tend to write, at least in the beginning, from a perspective of our own lives and our own comfort zones. It's only later, as it becomes much more of work, joyous work, but work, that we do memoir poems or first person poems, surviving tales that really have nothing to do with us, but people identify because the poet has made it simpler for the reader to feel from the very beginning, I am inside this story. So basically, somewhere around 2009, I started submitting poetry. I started really, truly honing my craft online, where I could learn not only how to critique, but also how to accept critique and use that to define my work, refine it. Finally, after, as my husband Tim Little would say, she just kept sending in, sending in, sending in, and she never ever said, I I'll stop. I I told him I would stop, but he said, keep doing it. Somebody will see the beauty in your work. And in 2017, for the first time in my life, I was published with a poem based on a true story of a 60-year marriage and a very, very successful marriage in all the important components. And I met that couple when I was 10 years old. And all these years later, more than 50, my mom and the bride in the poem called Dancing in the Kitchen are still the closest of friends. And both husbands have passed away, but they all continue to thrive and their friendship remains strong. So, in terms of where that brings me, I started getting some recognition in 2017, um, getting known as a Pushcart Prize nominee poet is made it easier for people to meet me and not throw away my work.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful to that. It was a life altering moment to be published, and then in the same time to be acknowledged for my work. And I felt that,
So,
okay,
and you've
maybe
been
I have,
nominated. You've been nominated twice for the Push Cards.
I
Um,
have,
the,
I
the, the,
have
sec- the second time you were nominated by your publisher, which
I
is Lisa.
was.
Which is
The first
Lisa.
time I was nominated by a literary publication, and
Mhm.
they're a terrific group, and they have since rejected everything I've ever sent them. And the last time it wasn't even personal, it was just, sorry, too many poems, not
Mhm.
enough space. And I
Mhm.
stopped submitting to them, but
Yeah.
I owe them a great deal and I appreciate it.
And
And
you were so resilient. You just kept sending them in, sending them in, even though they had
I did.
rejections.
I
I don't
did.
know that I would have done that. I would have said, probably thought to myself, okay, my stuff isn't great, but you knew that you were great and you had, a purpose. But the thing about your style of poetry is something I've never run across before. You have your own unique style. It's different than I think anyone else's. It's definitely when I look at your poetry, I can say that's Jill's. You have your own stamp, your own signature. And how would you describe your style of poetry?
I tend to write story poems. So
Mm.
they're not necessarily short pieces. And in the poetry critique workshop that I've been participating in for about a year and a half, I've had to take a hiatus. But one of the things that I started doing when I discovered writing again was using ellipses, just those three little dots. And I have to tell you, I felt so eviscerated after the first workshop. I wasn't even going to come back. I was in tears because everything I had brought to them, they're like, you don't need this. We don't use that. And they literally, figuratively beat the ellipses out of me. So it is
Yeah.
very, very rare.
And that is the literary critique group that you go to.
Right. And
Which
we just put an
who
anthology
who
together.
is to say that the critics are accurate?
You're absolutely right. That's
So
exactly right.
critics are only as good as their certain mindset and their
Mhm.
certain likes or dislikes.
That's
So,
exactly
although it's good to get ideas and new ideas and so forth, and to run things past people, but to say that something is definitively right or wrong, you know, who's to say? And then I always
if
want to
it
see
resonates.
their work, the one who's doing the critiquing. Let me see her work. So, because very often, I mean, if I wanted to, I could critique it. So, but then it doesn't become our style. Like, have they helped you rewrite a work before? Have they helped you taken something and deconstructed it and then
No,
you reconstruct it?
no, they don't go that far. A critique workshop is beneficial because they take the strong bones that you've prevented and or you've presented, and they let you see that show, not tell. That's a considerable. I've heard that a lot, considerably from other poets. Show, not tell.
So what
Um,
does that mean specifically? What does that mean? Show not tell.
leave things so that it's not so clear. We're not reporting, we're not newspaper reporters. This is not journalism. We have it within poetry the ability to tell a story without the need for full sentences. So
Right.
I tightening up was something that I learned a great deal about. And I think that it's really changed my
Yeah.
work. It's given it greater dimension. I can also say that my debut book was a long awaited one. And I'm so grateful because you did an amazing forward. And Sarfraz, our mutual friend, did a beautiful back cover blurb for me. And my launch was magical, and it's been amazing. But I look back at the poems in the book and
Mhm.
I say I can make them better now. And so
Oh no, you always do that. No, 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 don't do that because you did that to one
I
of them.
know, I
You
know,
know how I feel about that. It was
I
perfect.
do address important issues now that our country is at a reprieve, I hope, forever from the COVID that we all went through, the lockdown, the quarantines. It's better in this country than it is in so many other countries. And you know that because you and I have the time zones memorized, and we know people in all over every corner of our Mother Earth. We have friends. And
Yeah,
we know that COVID is still a major problem. But
yeah.
for us as poets, throughout the lockdown quarantine time, it almost felt as if there was a collective chorus of prayers and belief and hope and optimism, and us helping people to celebrate the ordinary everyday miracles instead of saying this is horrible. What are we going to do? We're stuck
Yeah.
at home with our kids. We're stuck at home with the husband who
They're
you
gonna look at that time they were stuck home with their kids, and they're gonna think, "Oh, thank God for that," because I
right
don't have that
later.
luxury. But the thing is, I had a really hard time with COVID. I wrote maybe 2, 3 poems kind of related. I couldn't actually name it because I
Hmm.
didn't want to give it more power. So I
Hmm.
just, had this anger towards COVID and did not want to name it, give it more power. It was in my own kind of thing. I think when I had COVID, I don't even know if I did it then. But and then I wrote the one about toilet paper because of the toilet paper crisis that it caused.
I will have to read that because I'm sure I would remember it,
It's
and
a
I
little
don't.
comical. It's called Ode to Toilet Tissue.
Oh my
So
God, I
yeah.
love that.
There's
I'll look
even
forward to
somewhere on Facebook, there's even a video when I was bored in the COVID era of me doing a demonstration of the crappy toilet
I
paper
got it.
samples that I had. So I went and described them all. Here's my only one of my Charmin, which I wanted to, like, I don't know, put bronze it or something because that was
Stock.
the only one
Oh,
I had.
you were stockpiling bathroom tissue.
No, I was stockpiling the crappy stuff. So the bad stuff. Anyway, no, now I do a little bit because now I'm just paranoid. But anyway, we won't talk about toilet tissue. That's probably not a good thing. But you were talking about the show. What was it again? Uh,
I was
tell not
discussing
show not tell, or was that it?
show not tell, and also tightening up, not needing words such as
And you can
and
do that. You can
and
do
the.
that. You can do that with poetry. You can't
You
do that
can,
with literature. If you're doing a novel, you need those things. But in poetry, we
of
can
course.
kind of abbreviate things. We have kind of that
Yes, you can.
luxury.
You
Yeah.
can also find, and one of my poems today has it from a suggestion. You can also use words in ways that you normally think of as adjectives, when in fact that word can be used as a verb. I
Hmm.
am not a rhyming poet, so, and I'm also self-taught. I never took any classes in school, and later on, the most that I learned was when I belonged to an online um, group that had both artists, poets, writers, various categories. It was really an amazing experience because you had to learn to critique, because no one writes in a vacuum. If you
Yeah.
do, you're not getting out, you're not exposing yourself to what you need.
Yeah.
So prior to COVID, I was addressing significant issues: domestic abuse, rape, violence, mass school shootings, mass shootings, things that were happening in this country. Not
Hmm.
that it stopped, but it did sort of take a break during COVID. And it seemed as if we had all come together, as poets throughout the ages have, and offered ways and perspectives for people to remain positive, for people to love one another, for sisterhood, for friendship, for ties that we cherish, that
Yeah.
mean so much. And all the books that came out during that time, there was just this amazing outpouring of love
Yeah.
and honoring nurses. Because you asked about the Pushcart Prize. My second was for a poem that I wrote while I was a hospital patient. And it takes a lot of presumption and guts, I guess, to uh, try to address an important topic from a perspective that is clearly not your own. My background is the opposite of nursing or EMTs or anything like that, anything scientific. But I wrote this poem called Double Shift, which Annette, as a nurse practitioner, you know that means
Are you
24
are you
hours
wanting
straight.
to are you wanting to share that?
I don't have it with me, but
Okay, you
if you
don't have that one. Uh,
it's fine. I have the book if you'd like to hear it. I brought in poems today
the newer ones.
that are
Yeah.
all new.
Well, why
But
don't
if
you
you'd
share
like,
one with us? Well, either way, it's up to you because I know that you have all kinds of new material too that people haven't been exposed to yet, and so it's up to you what you want to do. And while you're getting that
good.
ready, let me just ask you a quick question.
Sure.
regarding the whole publishing process. Because I
Hmm.
think before you become published, we as writers are disillusioned into the publishing journey and what it really means. I think that you think, even though you might not get a lot of the royalties, you'll make something, but and something you might make. But I think that there's a lot of people who are disillusioned who haven't published before and think that that is their ticket. Once they're published, they're going to make a lot of money.
No.
And so I want you to touch on that just a little bit, the what's envisioned versus what the reality of it is.
The reality of it is poetry in the United States of America in 2021 or 2022, and most likely for the next several years, is not a way to keep food on your table. It's just you see poets revered in countries such as India or the Philippines or in Nigeria. However, you see that, but what you don't see here is that same reverence. They're going to put volleyball on ESPN2 before they're going to put videos of poets. These are beautifully crafted poetry videos available on YouTube. Annette, you have so many, and they're each one more and more detailed, more and just so much better and more beautiful, magical, memorable poems. And you've done that. One poem that I wrote for you, and one poem that you wrote for us. And in addition to so many other people's magnificent poetry videos, generally archived on their website or on YouTube or both. The,
Yeah.
the situation right now, though, calls for us to do more than address the beauty and the celebration and friendship, because things are about as bad as they can be in our country, the USA, right now. Mass shootings has a new definition. Domestic abuse is something that has increased since COVID. But if you think about it, even when quarantine started, the cops already knew. I have a niece who is a police officer. The
Yeah.
cops knew right away they were going to see much more domestic violence and abuse and even deaths that than previous, because people are not used to spending that much time locked with each other. I have this giant shirt that I sleep in, and it said, I've been practicing social distances all my life. I can't wear it anymore because it's so huge. I might as well add another person inside. But
I always say the power of our words, and that words have so much power,
they
and not
do.
just in the literary world or the poetic world. I mean, what we say and release from our mouth and our hand, our thumbs, is huge, and it can be, once it's there, it's very easy. I think it's easier even to write something than it is to perhaps speak it. Um,
Yes,
and but when it's spoken, then it's even has more power and venom behind it. But I
I
think
agree.
that we need to be careful as we write and have, um, as we do. But we need to know that we have a certain amount of responsibility in swaying people. It's kind of like the media.
Hmm.
The media has a lot of power, and it can sway the opinion clear in another direction, even though it might be. I mean, even if you look at Hitler, and he had all the propaganda of television and
Yes.
videos, and I mean, and so he can make this big impact, and it's just kind of lived on. But we do have a certain amount of responsibility in knowing that we wield so much power, within our pen.
We have God given gifts, and it is It is something that we are charged with. I believe it's why I've beaten death so many times. I believe it's why I'm here today. There has got to be a reason. People tell me I have more to say,
Yeah.
so I'm
More
going to say
purpose.
it. But I truly believe that poets throughout the ages have brought not only joy and sadness, they have been responsible for initiating change, for
Yeah.
helping people understand, for interpreting things that they didn't get the first time around. The finest philosophers and scholars were Plato and Aristotle, and this goes back thousands and thousands of years, and poets were charged to make that message real. And that's what we do. We've gotten past COVID, so we need to reboot our priorities. We need to rethink the way in which we're going to be writing. Maybe our styles are very different, than, or maybe they remain somewhat identifiable. I don't really want a signature style or a signature label, because
I think it's good that you have that though. I think it's good to change it up. If we all
I
wrote
think it's good to change it.
similarly, yeah, it would be boring.
It
So
would be,
yeah.
because I know when you were writing a lot of romantic poetry, and people were surprised. I don't know why I wasn't, but people were surprised when one day you came out with a poem that basically said, I'm paraphrasing, but it basically said, "You don't know me. This
Mhm.
is what I'm writing. Whether it's true or it's not true doesn't matter. Accept what I'm giving you. Accept this gift that costs you nothing,
Yeah.
and you can take it and learn to understand the perspective."
I've written
And
that a couple of times and changed it up a little bit, but um,
absolutely.
very often I'll get these comments or poor you or and I'm tired of writing. I write a lot of fiction or it's not about me. It might be just I saw something or something
Right.
prompted me to write it and it might not be anything about me. It might be my imagination went somewhere,
Hmm.
but it's not necessarily about me. So tell me a little bit about tell me a little bit about um, your husband, Tim, and what he means to you.
He's my world. He means everything to me. He is my muse. He, in my mind, I lost my dad when I was just 18, and that's something you and I share. And someone, as a matter of fact, just this morning, one of my sister friends said, when I told her that you had held a rehearsal yesterday to make me comfortable, considering that I have a concussion and I've had some significant setbacks. And one of the things that she said was, Annette is so good to you. She is such an amazing friend. And I said, absolutely, absolutely. Um, I'm sorry, ask the question again,
Um,
please.
so I want to know. I want everyone to know because you have something I doubt that I shall ever experience, and that is, I've lived 60 years. It's not happened. I kind of doubt
Oh, okay.
it.
You want to talk
But
about,
you
okay,
have the love of your life that you're married to. And I want you, and I love your relationship together and love how much you adore one another. But I want you to kind of speak about Tim just for a little bit.
Tim was 12 years old when he was in a chemical explosion in rural Alabama. He spent 18 months in a burn center at the University of Alabama. He spent 6 months in a rehab center, meeting young kids, meeting people his age, so that he could see that there was definitely life after this. And they moved to another town, and he started life again at a new school. And he has never let it interrupt for any long period of time his career. Between college and grad school, Tim owned a photography studio. He is my mentor, and I'm told that I'm getting much better at my photographs. I'm enjoying it tremendously, but that's because I don't do people. I just photograph food and I photograph flowers. And because you get them thrown at you all the time. But it gives me joy to give the flowers. Tim is not the person who waits for Valentine's Day to bring a gift of flowers home. He will come in, and in his hand will be a huge array of flowers for me to enjoy arranging and photographing. And if our home health aide says, is today a special day? Tim's perfect line is always, it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. And my wife deserves flowers because it's
Oh,
Wednesday. He says his life began anew. He never thought prior to meeting me that anyone would accept him with all his scars, both mentally and physically. To be perfectly candid, I don't even see them, although I know that with him being away for so long, we've been separated since the end of April of 2021, and it is now October of 2022. And the most time we have spent together in all that time has been when I've been a patient in the hospital, and the doctors have written orders that we can spend that time together. It's very hard to live like that. However, we have this bond that just gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and our love grows. So he's fighting as hard as he possibly can to get home, to be safe, to learn to live independently as an amputee. And together we have this vision, dream that you know all about it because you're going to be my maid of honor. But we are going to celebrate our 10-year anniversary next year, July 3rd, 2023, with our nearest and dearest, some in person and even more online. And that's because we've been taken into people's lives, their hearts, their minds. They've given us gifts of prayers. They've given me gifts of poems. They have taken the time to message me when I'm gone for a while. I cannot think of a better thing to do than to ask them to celebrate with us. I'm just sorry everybody can't be there for the food, because
yeah,
the food and the champagne are going to be amazing.
yeah. So,
But we'll
but
let you tell
go
them
ahead.
about
Yeah.
that after.
Well, you have this wonderful husband. You have a wonderful bond. Both of you been through so much, and
Most people would not be most
able to
people would
endure
not
it.
be together.
Yeah.
Not if you were married 40 years and this
Mhm.
happened.
But I
No.
think that you have that love and respect and
Yeah,
admiration for one another that makes it work and keeps it together. So,
it does.
so I want you to go ahead and read your first poem for me, darling.
Okay. I'm going to start with an example, and this is sadly a single example, but there are hundreds of thousands. And this tells you, and Annette, you know this better than almost anyone because of your nurse practitioner. This tells you the tragic state of how horribly broken our healthcare system is in the United States of America in 2022. Is called Get Out, Mister. Get out, mister. Today, an ultimatum arrived, delivered by a child in her knockoff suit, badge affixed, lofty letters behind her name. She struts towards a nameless patient's room in red bottom heels, matching manicured nails. No knock. Why bother? She's met him before, that man in bed B. Hospital gossip spreads faster than wildfire. She's heard all about his struggles from that damn disorder, PTSD. From the lips of strangers, she has what she thinks she needs. Many have praised him, even more offer prayers. She is baffled by such devotion, no wish to hear his pleas. Her lips shine like those shoes, as bright as a light atop a miner's hat. He is lost inside a nightmare, inside a fire that lit up his skies, seared skin, broken limbs. 5 decades later, he still can hear his brother's cries. She slides 2 pages across a table to define this man's future, points and taps as if he were blind. She lets her fingers do the talking. This is where you must sign. Years spent in library carols and lecture halls to earn those letters behind her name, all wasted. What a shame. They will never reach her shuttered heart. The click of her heels is all that remains. Thank you.
You can't even hear me. I'm sitting here talking and I'm muted. So, look at what I did. Oh, you're not even looking.
No, I am looking. I don't have any idea what you said because I didn't hear you.
You see what I put on while the cameras are.
Okay.
My earrings, silly.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
We have matching earrings.
We do
I
indeed have
just I
matching
just put
earrings.
them on. Yeah.
We also have, ready?
Oh, I have that upstairs. Darn.
We have matching
Should have gone.
pens.
Do have matching pens.
We have matching pens. They are
Mhm.
made just the way you would blow glass, and they're made with
Yeah.
acrylic. And
So
they're our favorite color, purple.
yeah, the color purple. So yeah, I put my earrings on, and gosh, I thought maybe you'd notice. Doesn't match my necklace, but that's okay.
I'll tell you why I didn't notice this because I can't see you.
You
All I
can't
can
see
see,
me.
nope, all I can see is me. I used to be able to see you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't switch the layout. I didn't switch the layout. Let's do that all over
Okay.
again. Here, that was just a that's
Now
what
I see them.
I
Aren't
think
they lovely?
I'm looking at the bottom at both of our pictures and thinking, yeah. So, shall we do it again? So, matching earrings.
Lovely. I
There.
love these earrings.
Yeah, yeah. But it doesn't match my necklace. This is probably the most expensive necklace I've ever bought.
Oh my.
Cost me $250. That is a rarity. I never do that. But it was a funk dunk
It's
by award winning local jeweler, and it's got some kind of a
it's
uh,
beautiful.
some kind of a opal, like boulder opal. I don't know, something out there in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
It has an opal, and I would never do it again. I usually buy very cheap costume jewelry because I can have a lot more of it than I can one piece. But so Jill,
Did
um,
that poem fit my style?
yes, that fits your style. That is your style, girl. You know, they're stories, so they're always, you know, this story with lots of vivid imagery. So yes, it fit your style. Um, you wrote one for me this
Mm-hmm.
time of year, last year,
Yes.
when I was going through some funk at the time, and I did a video on it. And I hope Alan Johnson is not on any longer. I think maybe he was earlier. Jill Tate's here. Don't know who
Hi,
everybody is,
everybody.
huh?
I said, hi, everybody.
Yeah, I don't know who all is here because not everybody has their name.
Okay.
Um, I think Syed was here, Khan, and
Oh, that's
friend of
great.
mine from the very beginning, and he was one of the first people I met in the poetry community and actually mentored me quite a bit and saw my potential. So I really appreciate all that he's ever done. Um, it looks like Greg is here, and I'm just trying to look at names that I'm seeing in here. Sometimes they are communicating with each other. Michael Dulake and Bogdana
Did you
and
say that Jill Tate is there?
Jill Tate was there. Don't know who's still
Uh,
here.
Oh,
It's
okay.
I think Jill is still here because she's
Hi, twin.
twin. Yeah, twins separated at birth. Um, and yep, that's who I see. So I don't know if Alan is here. Hopefully he's not because I'm going to be showing a video I made, which is the poem that you wrote for me.
I
But
love that video.
it's very amateurish and not good, and the recitation, of course, is not good as well. But
Well, now that
what
you've
else I can do?
completely
I'm not Alan
downplayed it,
Johnson, huh?
now
What'd
that
you say?
you've completely destroyed any expectation,
Well, I had to really downplay it a lot because I'm used to showing his videos, and I'm trying to explain to them that, well, for one thing, it's not his production, and for another
right?
thing, it's a really bad one of mine because
Then don't show it.
I'm
Don't
a
show it.
novice.
Don't worry.
No, we're
Just
gonna show it because
okay.
then when I interview you in the future, I'm gonna make a really good one.
Okay. Okay.
You're gonna see the difference. And Sarfraz is here. Hey,
Hi,
Sarfraz.
Surprise.
He's my poetry husband. Long story. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and show that, which is again not an Allen production, but pay attention to the words. The reason why I'm showing it is because this is a beautiful poem that she wrote for me, and the words were very healing and still
Can I
are.
tell you why I wrote it?
Well, I had my own thoughts of why you wrote it. Why did you write it?
It was actually quite simple. It was something that you said. You said, "Oh, I just realized today would have been my 38th wedding anniversary."
38, probably 28 or something like that. Yeah.
And you were feeling isolated and kind of sad. And I wanted to show you, just you, I didn't care if anyone else ever even saw it, that you, in fact, are the phoenix that rose from the ashes.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is contemplation of a phoenix in flight by Jill Sharon Kimmelman. Botchy job for me for the video, but we'll go ahead and show it. Contemplation of a Phoenix in Flight by Jill Sharon Kimmelman, recited by Annette Tarpley. On the wings of doves you fly. In freedom you have found your voice. Celebration of your journey's path is freedom defined. In the stillness of tranquility, your words returned. A whisper within your heart, at first you denied. Incessant gentle nudges you avoided, until you could no more deny those words their impassioned pleas, then you could stop your heart from beating, your lungs from breathing, your pen from bleeding. Every brilliant word forming sonnets and stanzas are awaited, welcomed, inspiration accepted. Your declaration drafted in tears, while haunted by fears. Now, an affirmation of strangers for untold others. Celebrate freedom earned, the blessing, lessons learned. Like the lotus, your greatest gifts grew greater in the ooze of mud. You, a magnificent phoenix with plumes of every hue, the grandest of dreams are yours to pursue. A vibrant blossom ablaze with fiery gems, they are your magical words. A most beautiful phoenix, standing tall, strong, proud, no doubts at all. Most magnificent of birds, most beautiful of all. There you go. So
Wow,
I forgot it had the little advertisement thing on the end of it.
I saw that.
Yeah. So what is on your bucket list? Maybe not take the literature out of the bucket list. Just in life, what's on your bucket list?
It used to be, since I was 4 years old, this is such an easy question for me. It used to be Venice. I just always said I want to go to Venice and Florence. That was so important to me. And then around 2000, 18 of my family members, we all went to Las Vegas, and we went to the Venetian Hotel, and we got in the gondolas, and there were shops all around. It was very, very clean, and the gondolier sang to us as we were in our gondola. And when we got out, my mother said, "Now you've been to Venice." No way. This doesn't count. She said, "Believe me, I've been there. The water is filthy. They don't take out their trash." I'm like, "Mom, this is a sanitized Venice, and it could be anywhere in the world." So I realize now, for health reasons, for Tim and I, that Venice just can't remain as the number one thing on my bucket list. So I think the number one thing that we're really counting on is for Tim to be able to be strong, to take day trips, to build up to weekends, ultimately, to say, renew our vows together in front of all our friends and family, as I mentioned before, July 3rd, 2023. And then to take a cruise. I've never been on a cruise, although I've traveled outside the United States. I've never been on a cruise, and we would like to do that. That's our aim. I guess you'd say that's our bucket list number one item, is he wants to dance in front of an orchestra.
No.
Now, that may sound somewhat ordinary. I guess when I was growing up, dancing in front of an orchestra was something that we did when we celebrated events. But Tim and I have very different backgrounds. So for him to be able, whether he's in a wheelchair or has a prosthetic device, regardless, to be able to be on a ship after having a beautiful dinner and just have the evening continue and dance with together in front of an orchestra.
That's
So we
wonderful.
chose one that we can avoid having to fly. We can go to Baltimore, because I'm in Delaware. So Baltimore would be approximately 45 minutes to 60 minutes away south, then get on the ship and go north. So the stops would be Boston, another stop in Massachusetts, Maine, Newport, where the most magnificent cottages in the world exist, all on this one area. America's billionaires are at the time thought of as millionaires, but now compared to tech billionaires, that's a whole different thing. But
Yeah.
these cottages are magnificent, and I've seen them and he hasn't. So we want to include Newport. And then also there are two stops in one in Canada and one in on an island called I can't remember right now. Having a concussion is really hard, but
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah.
Brunswick Island, Brunswick
Okay.
Island.
So going on a cruise and doing that stuff and having.
Those would be our
Yeah.
shared bucket list. I can tell you, I have another one. I'd like to write a book with you.
And we're gonna do that someday. I think it changed a little bit our plans on that, and I'm trying to remember where we are.
Well,
With
we
that.
have it on our list. That's where we're
We
at.
do. We have it on our list, but I think that it changed a little bit in the format when we
Mhm.
talked about it last. But yeah, we'll have to do that. I want to. Our time has really come to an end. I want to go ahead and acknowledge some people. The people that we know is identified. So Michael Dulake says fantastic interview. I don't know if we can see the whole thing. Uh,
Oh, Annette,
yeah,
can
yeah.
we close with a poem about writing poetry?
We can after we acknowledge some people that are here,
Oh,
and
thank you
we
so
do that.
much, everyone, for coming.
Yeah, yeah. We can afterwards. I'm just trying to. This one is from Greg Etzel. So hello, Greg. And somebody said, "Wow, amazing video."
Oh.
I don't know who that is, but I know that's not Alan Johnson. So I'm almost 100% sure. Um,
No,
come to
the
find
Alan
out,
doesn't speak in hyperboles. No.
yeah, I think this is Jill Tate. Yeah, there you go. That's a comment from her. She loved it. It was smelly though. Never went in the gondola. I'm in Italy and well worth it. I don't know who's in Italy.
Oh, I know who is.
Who is?
She's in Progressive Literary Cultural Society, Anna
Oh,
Maria.
oh,
She
Anna
teaches.
Maria. It is Anna. I know who Anna Maria is.
I know you do.
It's
She's
Anna
actually
Maria. Hello, Anna Maria, if that is you. We can't tell who it is because it won't identify y'all. And then Greg Etzel says that it has been the Newport awesome place.
the
Let me
cottages. Yes.
yeah, let me see if there's anything else that is actually
Is
Syed Khan is the one I spoke with earlier, who was very much a mentor to me when I came into the community
Mhm.
and graciously took me on. I don't think it was at my request, but rather he knew I was a novice at it and came to my rescue. So, and I think that is about it. Unless somebody says something, what poem would you like to finish with? This is okay. This is Tonya. Tonya poetry is in Italy.
Okay.
I don't know.
The
So why
poem,
don't you go
it's
ahead?
about writing. It's
Okay.
about writing. And it answers the question that you asked earlier this week, I think, in pop. And the question was, what inspires you to write? Do I have that right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the poem that Elizabeth, we all know and adore. She and I collaborated for the very first time. We have edited one another's works. We have refined, but we have never written a poem together. And I'm incredibly proud that we wrote this. and it has been accepted for publication. Okay. Is it worth the struggles? Writing poems has never been my choice. Without stories spilling from my very core, death of my spirit is a certainty. Take my leg, I shall learn, even trust enough to someday love again. Take from me my pen and ink, all that spatters and bleeds. My soul remains firm to write again, banish all pain, reveal raw emotions while beginning the process of healing. Writing is freedom, a way to scale those thorny walls of all our prison gates. My poems, crafted within a safe, brave place, initiate change, guide me in deliverance of wisdom learned. Poems are goals to accomplish the promise of their mission, elates me with inner strength. Without writing, hope vanishes, confidence wavers, ideas rarely attain fruition. Neither martyr nor orator, spinning words to convey all the informed. They are barely treading waters. I am a warrior, a poet determined to seek and greet, celebrate and thrive, reach for answers inside a hard won new world. That was written with Elizabeth O. Ogamondide from
Yeah.
Nigeria.
Yes, it was beautiful. And that I'm glad that it's going to get published. So wonderful job, great collaboration. So somebody put on here that Jill doesn't identify the person as a very sensitive soul, which you are. And
Oh, thank
so
you.
I just want to tell you that you know how much I love you, and you know how much I care about you,
That's
and
right.
you know that I think you're a marvelous poet and talent, and the world shall never forget about you.
Thank,
So, thank you for coming today and giving your time. And my love, blessings, and prayers to you always.
thank
So,
you. It's been a joy, an absolute joy.
thank you. Bye,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye.